Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing you another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at McFarlane's DC Direct, DC Essentials, DCeased Nightwing. I want to give a big shout out to Wicked Bazaar. They're a new online shop. They deserve to be noticed. Run by some really cool people. They sent me this action figure to do a review on, and I'm so excited they sent it to me. I'm going to give this guy away. This is going to be a free giveaway for a $30 DC Direct, DCeased Zombie Nightwing. One of you lucky guys out there is going to get this figure for free. All you have to do is drop me a line in the comments below. Let me know that you're interested in this Nightwing, and let me know the oldest video of mine that you remember seeing. Maybe it's what drew you to my channel. I'd just be curious. I'll cover the shipping. All you gotta do is let me know you're interested. Once again, big shout out to Wicked Bazaar. There will be a link in the description below. Go ahead and check out their shop. Their inventory is kind of light now, but they're going to be new stuff in real soon. So let's go ahead and check out the packaging. As you can see, DC Essentials, DCeased Nightwing, DC Direct from the source, and this is the 37th figure of the DC Essentials line. Now, this is essentially, no pun intended, a zombie Nightwing. It's pretty much DC's answer to Marvel Zombies. Now, DC Direct died as a company about 2 years ago, and McFarlane has resurrected them from the ashes. They're releasing the previously shown DC Direct figures that never made it out. They were canceled. These guys are about 30 bucks a pop, so they're not exactly the best value, but I'm still really happy they're getting these figures out. One side of the package, you can see Zombie Nightwing. On the back, here's the rest of the wave. Deathstroke, Red Hood, and Batgirl. I've got them coming from Entertainment Earth. Should have them soon. And then at the bottom, we've got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode in case that happens to help anybody. So with no further ado, let's open him up. I also wanted to mention there's a 15% off coupon code for his website. The code is WB2022. I'll put that in the description as well. Now, the rules about this giveaway, just remind everybody, drop me a line in the comments below. Let me know you're interested. Let me know the earliest video of mine that you've watched. And then I will wait 7 days, and I'll take everyone's name and randomly pick a winner. I'll reply to your comment here, asking for you to contact me through Instagram or email, and we'll set it up. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out, and that was kind of a joke, as he comes with absolutely no accessories, not even a display stand. I'm still happy they got these figures out, but they're not what you would call a good value. So this is Nightwing. Dick Grayson started off as Robin, then became Nightwing, and now he's a zombie. So let's take a look. Starting off with his head, which looks fantastic, gruesome. Mouth is open. Looks like he's been feasting on human flesh. He's got blood all over his face, around his mouth. He's got this giant gash into his head. You can tell it's definitely a new head sculpt there. Very nice little feature. Makes him look very different and unique from what came before. He's got blood on his chest area here, interrupting his Nightwing symbol. Blood on his hands. Blood on his legs. A little bit dirty costume. Looks really cool. Not exactly a Nightwing you can use in your everyday sort of action figure world, but he's good for a special occasion. Now, a lot of these DC's figures I like to use doubled up as really beat up heroes or villains. I mean, it kind of works for him. The mouth throws off a bit, and the huge gash in the head. I mean, he's not just damaged, he is ruined. And just a closer look at his face, or head sculpt, I think it looks awesome in a gruesome fashion. They did an excellent job with this alternate head on this guy. I mean, look at that gash across his head. It's gory, it's sculpted, pretty cool. I know a lot of people complain about the DC Essentials figures. They pretty much all share the same buck. At least all the adult male figures. Now, yeah, a little bit of variety would be nice, but the paint jobs, they make them look different. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as I thought it would if I was told they were all going to be the same torso, crotch, legs, and arms. The figures, for the most part, look clean and crisp, and they look their traditional looks, and I appreciate that. Some other people complain their arms are way too long. Never really been too much of an issue for me. They might be just a hair too long, but honestly, My hands hang about to the same point on my body. And just like most of the other DC Essentials figures, his hands come out with complete ease. You could easily swap them out with a different pair of hands. Now, some of the other figures, their heads can come off easily. This is not the case with him. You'd have to heat it up. Now I wanted to check out the differences between the DCeased Nightwing and the original DC Essentials Nightwing, besides the obvious paint differences. So as a whole, they are the exact same figure, but they have different hands and different heads, and then of course, a little bit of different paint job. The differences I see at the bottom, the blue here, the suit's a little bit dirty. Of course, this guy's got blood on his thigh. The hands, different, opened, sort of grabbing hands, and they've got blood all over them. He's got blood on his chest, and of course, blood on his head. But not only that, it is a completely different head sculpt. Look at the hair, look at the mouth, it is completely different. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing right about 7.0 inches tall, which you can translate to about 18 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far, down about that far. Really not bad there. Can't really tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint goes out about 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. He's got traditional ab crunch in about that far, back about that far, waist swivel, legs on ball joints, complete does a splits. They go forward, that far, back, really not at all. Thigh cut, double jointed knees, boot cut. He's got a ball on his ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock. The standard DC Essentials articulation. Here's Nightwing overlooking the streets of Gotham City. He hears some commotion. Nightwing hears a gunshot coming from this area, drawing his attention to these thugs assaulting a young woman. He jumps right into action and decides to save the woman in distress. Nightwing makes short work of the street thugs and then goes to check on the woman, making sure she's okay. She looks dead, but she gets up anyway. She's sort of edging towards Nightwing as he's asking her to back up, and then he realizes what's going on. Nightwing thinks to himself, don't let her touch you, don't let her bite you, don't let her scratch you. I've seen all the zombie movies. He jumps onto the next building and decides to get with Batman and let him know what he's seen. Nightwing goes to the Batcave to tell Batman what he's just seen. He sees Batman and Robin at the computer. He starts to realize something's not right when Batman and Robin turn around and he sees their faces. Seeing how he was caught off guard, Nightwing allows Batman and Robin to overtake him easily. Batman and Robin feast on his flesh, but they don't take it all. They leave enough for him to become a member of the Walking Dead like them. Thus, the origin of my zombie DCeased Nightwing in my action figure world. And as things sometimes have a tendency of repeating themselves, Barbara Gordon rushes into the Batcave to tell Batman what she has just seen. Very similar to what Nightwing just experienced, and she has no idea what's awaiting her. This will be continued in my DCeased Batgirl video. And before you know it, Nightwing is in the streets of Gotham, eating the flesh of cops, from one extreme to the other. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some DC Essentials figures. Here's the DCeased Nightwing, next to the original DC Essentials Nightwing. Then, next to the New 52 DC Essentials Nightwing, he's the exact same body as the original Nightwing, except he has Batman's forearms with some fins on them. Here are all of the DC Direct DC Essentials Nightwing figures. I give them all 2 thumbs up. Here's this Nightwing, next to the previous wave of DC Essentials DCeased figures, Supergirl, Superman, Harley Quinn, and The Flash. These were released by McFarlane's Toys under the DC Direct banner. These were all figures that were shown probably about 3 years ago and never actually made it out to retail. Really happy McFarlane has resurrected this line. Now the next wave is Nightwing, Deathstroke, Batgirl, and Red Hood, but Nightwing is the only one I have from that wave. I'll have the others very soon. Then, next to the first series of DCeased figures in the DC Essentials line. These were released more than 2 years ago by DC Direct. This was their last wave of action figures, last in the DC Essentials line, and I believe it was their last action figures released altogether. Here are all the DCeased figures that I have so far. Got a total of 9 of them, and 3 more on the way. Now, there were no other previously shown DCeased figures, and I don't really think McFarlane's ever going to pursue making more figures in this style and scale. But you never know, one could always wish. Now let's check them out, next to some other DC Essentials figures. I focus my collecting mostly on the Batman-related DC Essentials characters. Here he is, next to the figures I got from Series 1, Rebirth Batman and Deathstroke. I skipped over Series 2 entirely, and regret some of that today. Here he is, next to the figures from Series 3, Batgirl, Nightwing, Joker, and Harley Quinn. And from the next wave, I just got Cheetah. While not a Batman-related character, I always think it's cool having her interact with Catwoman. Here's this new Nightwing, next to Red Hood. Red Hood was the first, and I believe only figure that was released by himself with no wave. Then they released this Nightfall wave, and these figures are so good. And right before changing focus to DCeased figures, they made this Rebirth Batman 2.0 and the New 52 Nightwing. Both the Nightfall Batman and the Rebirth 2.0 Batman are some of my favorite Batman figures. They're probably my top 5 Batman figure list. And while these Doomsday Clock figures are not technically part of the DC Essentials line, I consider them at least an offshoot of the line, as they use the same body style and articulation as the DC Essentials line. Every single one of these DC Direct figures shares the exact same body. There may be some minor differences, but the torso, arms, and legs are predominantly the same. And you know what? At least for me, I think it works with these figures. They look pretty good and uniform together, although a little variety would have been nice. And there are more with this body: Flash, Reverse Flash, Sinestro, etc. Now let's check them out, next to some other Nightwing figures. Here are all the different DC Direct and DC Collectibles Nightwing figures that I have. Then, next to some McFarlane DC Multiverse Nightwing figures. And here he is, with all of my Mattel Nightwing figures. Here are all of my 6 and 7 inch scale Nightwing figures. I'm missing at least one DC Direct and one Mattel version. Here he is, next to all of my Dick Grayson as Robin figures. Then, next to a Mattel, Dick Grayson Batman. And here, with a DC Direct, Dick Grayson as Red Robin. I believe this was Dick Grayson in the Red Robin costume from Kingdom Come, not Tim Drake. Here's this DCeased Nightwing, next to a custom Dick Grayson civilian attire that I made. Then, with a DC Direct Armory Series Nightwing. Now, this is not Dick Grayson in the armor. I'm not actually sure who it is, the female, but it's definitely a Nightwing of some sort. Now, the DCeased figures are not the only zombie-type DC figures out there. DC Direct made some Blackest Night figures, and McFarlane is also making some Blackest Night figures. Not only that, but here's this Nightwing next to a McFarlane DC Multiverse Robin Crow. Robin Crow is not exactly a Robin zombie, but it sure looks like it, and it's really not that far off. Here he is, next to a couple of Palisades Resident Evil zombie cops. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling zombies. And here, next to a Jazzwares Fortnite Gold Trooper, another zombie figure. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a DC Direct figure, they're typically the 7 inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the large action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, we're going to check him out next to some of his DC Direct brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figures, all from DC Direct, all 7 inch scale. And now, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST, or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some McFarlane toys. And here he is, next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro, Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazz Wars Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a pretty cool action figure. He's very gimmicky. It's almost like they're trying to be edgy, bloody, grotesque. Now, the figure is fun, he's cool, but he's definitely not a good value. Comes with absolutely no accessories, and he's $30, which is not a very fair price for this guy. That being said, this is still a cool figure. His articulation is everything you would expect from a DC Essentials figure. Accessories are non-existent. The sculpt and paint job are excellent. I have no issues there. His face is grotesque and looks good at the same time. If I had to rate this figure as is, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I'm enjoying this guy. But if you take into consideration the value, it probably bumps it down to a 6. I want to give another shout out to Wicked Bizarre. Really appreciate the figure, and someone out there is also going to really appreciate the figure. This is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.